God. This team, these Mets. There's something else. Guys, what is up? Mark and James here, back with the Mets'd podcast. Going to talk to you about this just deplorable Cleveland Guardians series. Probably one of the worst series I've seen the Mets play in the recent history. Just awful from almost every aspect. They did one thing well. They hit 6 home runs in 2 games. They lost those games in historic fashion. We'll talk about that, but it is just becoming just really hard to watch this team play. It's exhausting. We're going to talk about that. We're going to give you guys a prospect report. We haven't done one, I think, in like a week and a half, 2 weeks. We're also going to be dropping our top 10 prospects as a separate video on YouTube only. So if you want to check that out, make sure you're subscribed to the Mets'd podcast YouTube channel so you'll be able to see that. We're going to briefly talk about prospects again that are doing well today. Going to mostly focus on guys that maybe we haven't highlighted much this season, as well as the Cleveland Guardians series. So yeah, follow us on all our social media at Mets'd on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. Told you about YouTube already, and if you're listening to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, whatever it is, drop us a rating, drop us a review, download, and subscribe. James, we just watched that previous game. I know how you're feeling, but tell the people at home.
It's horrible. Like, this Mets team right now is at it's shocking because of how badly they started the season, but their lowest point they've been all year. They've lost 14 of 20 games. We haven't won a series going on a month. It's horrible. Like, SNY flashed a stat at the end of the game, and I just tweeted out too that over the history of baseball since 1901, when a team hits 3 home runs in the game, they've won 78% of the time, about 3/4 of the games. Yeah. The last 2 games of this Guardian series, the Mets hit 3 home runs in each of the games. They lost both games. And on the season, courtesy of Matthew Brown's team, Mets Twitter member, the Mets are 2-4 and they hit 3 home runs in a game. That's crazy. When there's a stat for the history of baseball, teams win 75% of the time. And this Mets team, again, these Mets, they lose 2/3 of those games. Short sample, but what the hell is going on?
Yeah, like, I mean, the fact that they had 3 home runs in game 3, 3 solo shots off Tristan McKenzie, who they had on the ropes all game, and they just couldn't do anything else besides those 3 home runs. Frustrating. Game 2, the 3 home runs, but the pitching fell apart. Hauser got left in way too long again, which, like, how many fucking times are we going to do this with our pitchers? I know the bullpen's depleted. Then get some arms that aren't depleted. I don't know. Like, what are we doing? How do we never have enough arms, ever?
It's also crazy with McKenzie, the fact that the Mets somehow found a way to hit 3 solo home runs, because he leads the league in walk rate. He's walking like 15% of hitters he's facing all year. So to not get anyone on base before those home runs is just so annoying and so brutal. And there's these teeny little signs of life in all these Mets games where now, like, this new batting order, it feels like the lineup's getting into a bit of a groove. Mark Vientos is hitting really well, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit too. But then now suddenly, like, our starting pitching ERA is like trickled down and down and down and down over the course of the year. We're walking more batters than any rotation in all of baseball. The bullpen, which I said this last episode, I hate that. I don't think it's being blamed for this loss today. Like, I think most fans are past the point of, like, blaming Reed Garrett for the loss.
You scored 3 runs.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like in a year where they were, like, so sharp for most of the season already, now suddenly they start to have some chinks in the armor, and now they look like a problem too. And they've still been, as a whole, incredibly good. But you saw Jake Diekman throw a Gatorade cooler. You saw Adam Ottavino smash an iPad. Like, there's a lot of frustration brewing in this team. And for a team that's now sunk to 7 games under 500, I definitely don't blame them and truthfully enjoy to see some of the emotion.
Yeah, it was refreshing to see Jake Diekman throw a Gatorade cooler. Like, we were at softball, and you told me, like, did you see Diekman through a cooler? I think I said, fuck yeah. I was like, that's been the most excited I've been about the Mets in a couple weeks, is that Jake Diekman threw a cooler.
Most excited I've been about the Mets was softball yesterday because we played 10 versus 9. We were a man down, and we had an inning with 6 home runs. Neither of us, of course.
No.
But we almost mercy the team. Down a man in softball. We only had 3 outfielders in softball. It's very hard to do.
Made 2 hard outs that inning.
Yeah, Mark made 2 outs in 1 inning in softball. It's almost impossible. But
it is what it is.
Yeah, now that was a winning team. We're the top team in that league, undefeated. Back to a losing team, the Mets. Just, you could also feel this series a lot. And I wrote down 3 quotes from Gary and Ron from the Wednesday game because there is frustration brewing for everyone's organization, especially for those guys because, again, they're fans of this team.
Yeah.
And I think there is, especially Gary, like, he's been through a lot of bad Mets seasons, of course, including last season. But this Mets team right now is a different kind of bad. I'm not saying they're going to be bad all year because they're this right now, again, they've won. They're 6-14 their last 20 games.
I think they're 9-19 since the Dodgers series.
It's really bad, and it's not even against the best teams in the world either.
Oh no,
we haven't won a series since the fucking Cardinals series 2 weeks ago. But again, this team is bad in a not fun way. They're bad in a way that you're not excited about the future. You're almost getting more pessimistic about the future, which is something I've been getting a lot more Twitter DMs the last few days as these Pete Alonso trade rumors intensify, and we're going to talk about prospects in a little bit, but our 2 top prospects, Jet Williams and Drew Gilbert, neither of them have taken an at-bat in over a month. So it's like people are kind of starting to wait for the next thing, looking for the next thing, wanting the next thing, and that thing is not coming. And Gary said today, the way things are going for this Mets team, it feels like a marathon every day.
It's exhausting to watch this team play. Like, they play such boring, uninteresting baseball. They find new ways to lose every night. Like, I guess if you hate the Mets, they might be one of the most fun teams to watch right now because they find a new way to lose every single game. Game 3, Omar Narvaez is so fucking lazy behind the plate. I'm done with him. Get him off the fucking team. Shouldn't play another game. Kevin Parada's been terrible. A little preview to the prospect report. That guy stinks too right now. I'd rather see him play right now than Omar Narvaez. How much worse can he be? How much worse can he be than Omar Narvaez? That guy's horrible.
Crazy that with the Alvarez injury, that first of all, team is complete tank since then. Because I think the last game he played was the day before they won. That was a Friday night, day before they won the Saturday game.
Yeah, and then they lost the Sunday game. They got smoked.
10-0.
Adrian Hauser special.
Right there. So team can win without Alvarez again, whether that's correlation, causation, whatever. But it's just the fact that Narvaez, who's here making $7 million, Tomas Nido comes up to replace Francisco Alvarez on the injured list. And then now Tomas Nido is the everyday catcher, is a better hitter, is a better defender. There's no reason whatsoever that Omar Narvaez is going to. And to me, it'd be shocking to stay on this team when Francisco Alvarez is healthy, which probably should be in like 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah. We're probably on track for rehab assignment soon. Also, we even mentioned it before, like Luisangel, another setback this week, another like not really a setback, but not throwing anymore because of tricep tightness. And tricep tightness when he had a shoulder issue doesn't feel great to me, but it's just all these little tiny things over and over again just seeping in, and you're like, oh, this sucks. It's just there's no fun being had in the field. There's no fun being had watching them. The only guy who I think has fun is Sean Manaea, who is still pitching really well. So I guess he can have his fun. Yeah, he's like pretty goofy all the time with the SNY cameras, but it's terrible. Every spot, top to bottom, day in day out, this team looks like shit. And I think it will get better, but I don't know how it gets better.
Yeah, you're definitely a little more optimistic than me. When you guys catch us immediately after the games, I'm so down because it's like I just spent my time watching these games, and as you guys did, and now I have to talk about everything that I just watched. I spewed nonsense and negativity for 2.5 hours watching the team. I have to do it again, and I'm sure for some of you, you're like, this Mark guy is negative all the time. This is not how I like to be. This is not what I want to be. But it's just really hard not to be when you see, even the way that they lost today, like with the Narvaez play.
We actually signed Austin Allen, a lefty hitter in AAA.
Get him up. I mean, he can't be worse. And again, the money at this point, you have if you are a serious baseball team like the Mets claim to be, you can't give a shit about Omar Narvaez's money that he's owed.
Well, I mean, especially the fact that we're a week away from the Mets letting loose Joey Wendell's money, and Steve not caring about that, and also James McCann a year ago, Robinson Cano before that. Like, that's something that we're fine to do.
Yeah.
Let dead money ride.
Omar Narvaez's contracts where we draw the line of can't spend that to get rid of Omar Narvaez, then this team's doomed.
I think Alvarez has to get healthy, but yeah, we're off topic. I don't know. Are we on topic? I don't even know if we're off topic or on topic. It's just these.
I don't want to talk about the fucking games. They stink.
It's painful. We love to keep a structure in this show, talking about the games. We like to keep a lot of our focus on the field, but these last few series have been so brutal. And like a lot of you guys said to us, like, you guys have been getting a little wild lately, and we are, because it sucks. Watching this team is terrible. They're not fun. There's no point to enjoy them really right now at all.
You guys want us to break down game 2 of how the Mets lost? Adrian Hauser stinks. They left him out too long. Then Jake Diekman unfortunately gave up a home run to David Fry, which also at the same time...
Wall scraper, too.
Yeah, wall scraper. It's like, he probably shouldn't have even necessarily been in that situation because Adrian Hauser should have been out earlier in this game. Shouldn't have been as close as it was. There's just... Is that what you want to hear? I will tell you, we got some Tylor Megill to talk about, to reel it back in. Tylor Megill, game 1, looked good. Is that the word we're using?
I would say look good, but I think it's more about like things that he did in this game. Like, I know you guys probably sounds like a broken record, like trying to make Tylor Megill happen again, but it's just I think there's a reason that the team keeps putting him these opportunities to start, because they know that first of all he's hundreds of times more valuable to them to start than he is as one inning reliever. Even if he could be a dominant reliever, I think it's just you exhaust every single opportunity to possibly start, and you see so many pitchers like Tylor Megill blossom so late in their careers and like so late in life. Like, I always think back to guys like Kevin Gausman. And, I mean, even the funny, think about it, like, oh, move him to the bullpen. A guy like Luke Weaver, who just finally moved to the bullpen full-time at, like, 32 years old, is having his career renaissance right now with the Yankees. So, like, we have time with these guys to, like, really push and see if they're going to be good starters. But Tylor Megill's splitter was fascinating. And, like, I use the word fascinating because I'm not ready to call the pitch good yet, even though despite it being nasty when he was able to locate it. But it probably was one of the strangest movement and just like physical profiles of any pitch so far this year in baseball. And he had very little command of the pitch in general. You're not supposed to really throw your splitter forkball in the zone. It's like always going to be a whiff pitch. It's not really a sit pitch. We've seen Yoshinobu Yamamoto struggle with that this year. And we talked about that a lot with Kodai Senga's forkball last year. I think he was throwing like 20% of them in the strike zone. But Megill threw 11 splitters in this game, forkballs. We don't know what we're going to classify them as yet. I've heard him use both terms, so I'm going to keep using both. One of those 11 was in the zone. Okay, that's fine. But the ones that were good were really good. Basically, 5 of them were competitive. 4 of them were swung at, and 3 of them were swing and missed. And I think the other one wasn't swing and miss. I believe it was a foul ball. So, and one of them to Andres Jimenez, that was like a super viral whiff.
So nasty.
Yeah, and that pitch itself had 400 RPMs on it.
Which is low.
That sounds really low, and it should sound really low. That his average 483 RPMs in the splitter in this game, it's only 11 pitches. That's the lowest for any pitch in all of baseball this year. It's not a knuckleball average spin rate, which is crazy because like I talked to Isaac Grofman, who's like does a lot of Mets threads. He's a listener to the show. You guys probably seen him on Twitter. Megill's hands are so big that he's able to split his fingers so much on the splitter that he's able to basically kill all of the spin on it. But for some reason, I guess based on his arm slot, it still fades away, like with his arm, goes arm side fade on it. That's how he's able to get that really nasty whiff against the lefty. But also 42 inches of drop on the pitch. That's both the most for any splitter in the league and the most for any relative drop for a splitter in the league because Megill's releasing the ball so highly because he's so tall and he's moved his release point up, like I talked about recently. And 6 of the splitters he threw in this game, 6 of the 8 pitches with the least RPMs on them for any non-knuckleballs entire season. And a lot of these pitches were actually spinning less than knuckleballs. And it's really only Matt Waldron when we talk about knuckleballs. I think he's the only real active knuckleballer.
He is, and his isn't very good.
Yeah, but he even has thrown a lot of knuckleballs this year. 500, 600, 700, 800 RPMs. Where Megill was sitting at 400 average RPMs with this pitch in the start. So whatever happens with this pitch, and it's going to be a big deal, it's basically whether Megill gets over this hump and actually becomes a true, consistent Major League starter. It's fascinating. It's super unique, and I think it is good enough and plus enough, like to really make a difference for him.
Yeah, I mean, like I like being positive every once in a while on here. It's nice. It's fun.
I'll be positive and there's things being positive about.
I was going to say, it's also, it's getting bad too when we're like, all right, so the positive, Tylor Megill's first start back. Like, that is the positive. When we're not like, hey, Francisco Lindor, Pete Alonso. The other positive from this series too is Mark Vientos has been swinging the bat pretty well.
Really well. Really well. And you got to give him some credit for that. And it kind of creates a broader discussion of, because now we saw him pit against a righty, I think, back-to-back days on Tuesday and Wednesday.
This builds into your theory of what the platoon actually is, rather than righty-lefty. Mm-hmm. It might be more that Mark Vientos is going up against these softer velo guys. Tristan McKenzie does not throw very hard. Ben Lively didn't throw very hard. And those are the guys he went up against.
No, it's fascinating.
Oh, he wasn't Ben Lively. Who'd he go up against?
Javion Curry.
Yeah, who also doesn't throw very hard either.
No, it's fascinating what's going on with Vientos. We've talked about it a lot in this show that his only problem with hitting is really just catching up to velocity. And then it's kind of overcompensating for velocity and then getting ready for it. But there have been a couple of times this year where he's kind of sat dead red, namely the home run off of, I think it was Ryan Helsley, the walk-off home run against the Cardinals, which is one of the Mets' last 7 wins. That feels like a lifetime ago. But somehow this season, Vientos has only faced 8 pitches over 95 miles an hour. Yeah. It's crazy. Or since the call-up. And he had faced 2 that day because he came in late as a replacement. But since this last call-up, only 8 pitches over 95 miles an hour. I think he has a hit on either 1 or 2 of them, so that's a good thing. And he had a double on Tuesday against Sam Henches, who I talked about. Big, lanky lefty throwing 96 from the left side. But really encouraging. I mean, 3 more hard hit balls on Tuesday night, a homer, a double, another double on Wednesday. Like, he's just hitting the ball well, and the way the rest of his team's hitting, especially Brett Beatty, he's hitting too well, I think, to leave the lineup.
Yeah, in the month of May, Vientos is hitting .333 with a .417 on base, .667 slugging, and then just overall on the year, looking at his slash line, .357, .419, .1133. That's obviously not going to stick for the entire year. We know that. But just the fact that he's come up after a guy who was demoted, sent down, a little bit disappointed. We saw it during spring training. He was definitely down in the dumps, and rightfully so. I can totally buy why he was upset. But he's come up and he's really taken advantage of the playing time. And I think that's something that I don't know how to phrase this correctly, but like, there's not enough guys on this Mets team trying to make something happen.
And go get it.
And Mark Vientos has been given an opportunity and looks like he's trying to make sure he never loses this opportunity again.
Yeah, totally. And that's like, you want guys in your baseball team to play with their head on fire, to play with a lot of energy. Vientos has done that really well. And there's still some defensive limitations for Vientos. There was a play on Wednesday afternoon, I think in the first inning, where he didn't field the ball cleanly. I want to say it was Freeman or Rocchio, just one of these small, skinny guys in the Guardians lineup. It's like there's 9 of them, maybe more like 6 of them. And then but he got off his body and he was playing in, so he made the throw the first. Still bounced it. He picked it out. But it's just like all those things matter significantly less when he's hitting the ball as hard, as consistently as he does. And with Brett Baty striking out, I think it's like 40% of his plate appearances in May. It's probably a good idea to let Vientos get a lot more of these plate appearances against all lefties and against probably some of these softer tossing righties.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's one of the few guys, too, right now at the plate that's being aggressive, where I feel like every single Mets hitter, Brett Baty, Francisco Lindor, Pete Alonso, just take strike one. We're going to give you guys strike one every single time. Feels like it.
This was another thing that Gary said when he was getting pretty annoyed in the late innings of the game on Wednesday, where Cade Smith was just, that was a blind spot for me. I definitely should have shouted you guys, Cade Smith. That guy's disgusting, yeah. He throws 98 miles an hour, just BBs, a hard 98.
Hear the seams ripping through the air.
And he started every single hitter off the inning. I think it was Lindor, Alonso, Nimmo with fastballs. And then the third time, Gary's like, all right, there's a fastball right there for you to hit. And Pete ended up striking out in that bat in a pitch that was like an inch away.
He took two fastballs, same spot.
It was just like those pitches are right there. But again, even this series, and since the lineup has been changed, all those guys have been hitting better. Upvote party, Lindor guy's batting average up over 200. Woo! Yay, woo! But I mean, he had 2 hits in RBI on Tuesday. He had 2 doubles on Wednesday. McNeil had 2 home runs back-to-back days. Marte hit a home run on Tuesday after a miserable series, both at the plate and in the field. But Starling Marte hit into the strangest double play I think I've ever seen in my life.
It was so
on Monday
frustrating.
evening, a 1-6-5-3 double play. So that's pitcher to the shortstop to the third baseman to the first baseman. So J.D. Martinez was on second base for Starling Marte to hit. One hopper that was grabbed by the pitcher. That was Ben Lively. He caught J.D. Martinez in between second and third, got him down in the rundown. He wasn't in the rundown long enough for Starling Marte, I guess, to decide if he was going to try and take second. And then bang, throw across the diamond. Marte's dancing off first base. He's out too. I'm just like, the Mets do things every single day that I've never seen before in the bad way.
And again, it goes back to the whole conversation of this team really doesn't go out and get it. Like this,
there seems to be a lack of an energy, a lack of a desire, a need, a want, like a complete
and it's not
vibe.
even like a not playing hard. I won't even go there.
No, they're
still.
not. Yeah,
they still play hard. But there's other teams. I spoke on Trevor May's podcast a couple days ago talking about just the National League East in general, and he brought up the Phillies to me, and I was like, yeah, I hate the Phillies, fuck Philadelphia, all that stuff. But these guys are dogs. They all come out. They're hungry. They're foaming at the mouth. They want to beat you. The Braves. They want to beat the piss out of you. They don't want to just win. They want to embarrass you. And it feels like this Mets team's hope we win today. Be nice if we could get a win. We're trying to win, but if it doesn't happen, we have tomorrow. There's no tomorrow. I want a little there's no tomorrow. Fucking beat the team in front of you and to lose because you got swept by the Guardians, who I know are playing good baseball, but
not great.
You look at that team and you go, that's a beatable team.
I think the fastest fastball velocity by starting pitcher the Mets faced this series was about 94. Ben Lively.
There's a world there's a world where the Mets, when we coming into the year, the way we talked about the Mets, very similar to how the Guardians team felt going into the year too, of they're going to play some close, tight games. You just got to be better than the team to win it, and the Guardians are currently doing that.
I think actually the Mets might have not seen a faster pitch from a fastball in 92.7 this series.
What about Clase?
Starting pitcher.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, no, they definitely didn't.
94.6, Javier Curry. So
he's not even really a starter.
Yeah, well, this is another thing that happened. That Tim Healy had a tweet that went viral. He likes to poke the bear a little bit, do the little doom porn stuff, but Tim's our friend, so we let him do it.
We like Tim.
Yeah, but Xavier Curry started against Syracuse Mets about a week and a half ago. He gave up 5 earned runs.
Oh, that's a good tweet.
In 4 2/3 innings.
That's a good tweet.
And against the Mets starters on Tuesday, I think he gave up 2 earned runs in 5 innings.
It's good content.
Yeah. And again, not saying those two things are 1-to-1, but it's also what the fuck? Hit the guy.
What is happening at the major league level that we just can't play well?
There's just a stink. There's a stench. There's something wrong.
Do they physically stink? Are we not showering?
Jack from Tampa, a friend of a friend, had told me that he grew up Pete Alonso, played baseball with him youth. He said Pete was a stinky kid.
I mean, yeah, he was a big boy.
Yeah, and it's fine. You're hitting home runs. You're sweating. You're running around. You're sweating. But it's just we talked about it early in the season when the Mets looked like they were a disaster. And then they kind of brought up the nose towards the end of April, beginning of May. But it's just there seems to be a target on the Mets' backs that they're not aware of. That other teams love to beat the Mets.
Of course, yeah.
Andres Gimenez hit the home run off of Jose Quintana today, and he was amped. He jumped in the air between second and third base. When he came to home plate, he grabbed his chest and kissed the Cleveland, giving shades of Wilmer Flores in 2015. He was let's fucking go. I'm so happy I got a home run off my old team that traded me. It's just...
Dude, even today, shout out Harrison Bader, might have the most dog on this team right now. His numbers are still pretty awful, even though he's hitting for a high average.
Good average and stolen bases.
Good defense. He does his stuff. Been pleasantly surprised with how he's played. But Tristan McKenzie clearly hit him on purpose with a pitch after Jeff McNeil went yard. Understandable. Jeff McNeil goes yard, you're pissed. You want to hit somebody. He hit Harrison Bader right in the hip. And then the next at bat, Harrison Bader went up there. I'm trying to hit a fucking home run off of you. He took a massive, massive hack. Gary even though he goes,
curveball.
ooh, Bader's trying to, I think, put one out here on McKenzie. Next pitch, bang, home run on a just looping slider or curveball, whatever it was. And I'm like, fuck yeah. Swinging the bat with some authority, something different.
And right after this, Jose Quintana seemed like very clearly hit David Fry like right in the shoulder blade just after this. And Ron was like, yeah, that was good. Good play by Quintana. And then immediately next hitter went up after Fry into a double play. And Ronnie goes, when you stand up for your teammates, good things happen. It's like, I don't know, maybe this is a little bit of a vibe change to the Mets where now they're just going to maybe just start being a little more aggressive with the stuff, policing the game themselves. But yeah, it doesn't feel like that. And again, even after the game. Like, I give credit because, like, Francisco Lindor goes up in front of the media every single game, and he's like, I know we're better than this because they are better than this. I don't think this team should be pacing as, like, a 68, 71 win team.
But also, like, at some point, I can't fucking hear it anymore.
I just want to be like, yeah, like, this sucks. Like, we have to be better than this. Now we are better than this. We have to be better than this.
No, you're right.
Then there's a difference, I think, in that prose and that phrasing. That's the kind of shit we want to hear.
A sense of entitlement of, like,
entitlement.
No, but it is. It's like we're going to be better. Why are you going to be better? You guys haven't done anything to prove that you're going to be better this year. You did nothing to prove that you're going to be better last year. You have one season, 130 games of being very, very good. And you have not been even close since. There's no more we are going to be better. We have to be better. We need to be better.
There's also another bad thing. Nimmo, again, talked about the weather as a reason the team can't play. He said our home and away splits speak for themselves. When we get on the road, we do a lot better. The home stats will get better as the weather gets warmer. You just lost 3 games in Cleveland. And it was hot every day.
What did you do better? You won no games in Cleveland. Oh, and I love Brandon. This team has been saying some really stupid shit the last couple days.
Como also just may have stolen my tweet. The Mets are the first team this season to hit 3 home runs in back-to-back games and lose them both.
Nice.
All right, I'll try that. That's okay.
Just like fucking like that comment, and then I'm going to bring up the Lindor comment about what do you miss the most about Cleveland? Winning. Dude, what the fuck, man? First off, you won nothing. They didn't win anything. You're bragging about being the American League champions? Fuck. And then 2, I know, like, I'm not mad at Lindor. I don't hate him. Like, there's no ill will, but, like, you are just giving the people that hate you even more fuel to add to the fire because you have to be smarter than that. You have to be. When you're part of the reason why this team is struggling to win, when you're hitting 160, 170, 180, you can't make a comment about you miss winning. Play fucking better.
I think that comment also got taken out of context.
It did, of course.
Because everyone just put the quotes, what do you miss most about Cleveland winning with the picture of Francisco Lindor. That's not what he said or how he meant it, but it got taken that way.
But you have to be smarter.
Yeah. But again, I think sometimes he just likes talking to the media and hanging out.
It's
like,
annoying,
We
though.
know that Mets PR can definitely be like, a little like this, but like...
They were more on us than them. They literally were on top of us more about what I was tweeting from my personal Twitter than it seems like what these players say. And it's crazy because you would think that I have the reach of Francisco Lindor, but I don't. Me tweeting out James McCann's gone boo was a bigger hullabaloo, whatever that fucking word is. Hullabaloo. Than Francisco Lindor saying dumb stuff sometimes. Like,
I'm trying to find the Lindor quote exactly from today, too. Because just more of the same. It's like, again, someone has to go up there and say this every single day. But just like, one time I want one guy in this team. Like, even if they would say it from, like, even Mendoza just being like, team's not playing well right now. Yeah. We expect to be better in the future. Right now it's not that way, and we're going to work on it. Like,
we need to fix it. We need to fix it soon.
He seems like he really went into the, like, back into media school. Seems like over the last few weeks. Seems like you got to rein this right back in.
Too much truth.
Yeah.
It's just, like, again, I don't, my opinions on Francisco Lindor as a player haven't really changed. Like, I'm not anti-Francisco Lindor.
Here's the quote.
Go for it.
I believe in this team. I believe in what we have.
It's just annoying. It's just an annoying quote.
You got to learn from it, move on.
I don't know what he can say.
But he did say, he said we have to find a way to be better.
Okay, that's better.
That's better.
I'm just like, I don't know
I don't know what to say every single day. Like, I give him credit for, again, going up there every single day because that sucks and that's annoying. But that's, like, what you have to do when you are the face of a franchise. Again, just like up and down this team, they just have to be better.
Well, that's like, again, we're going back to what I was talking about, like the Philly stuff. It's like a guy like Bryce Harper is like, they're not going to let that happen. The Mets lack that edge. They lack that leader that's different than the way that the guys lead right now on the Mets. And I don't know where they find that. I don't know how you get that. I don't know what it is. But clearly Lindor is not that kind of leader. Clearly Pete, Brandon Nimmo are not those kind of leader. But it's obvious that you need that kind of leader somewhere. And the Mets have nothing even close to it.
Think of other teams. Like, who's that guy in the Braves? They have a guy like that?
They're fucking good.
I guess.
Doesn't
but
matter.
I don't know. Phillies is Harper,
They have,
I guess.
they have winning.
Like, who's that guy in the Cubs?
The Cubs, I don't know. They stink. The Cubs are like 500.
Yeah, I mean, they're like their playoff team.
I know, but that's not a team that like
I guess.
win.
Who's that guy in the Dodgers? Like Muncy?
Yeah, Muncy's
Oh,
a
really?
fucking
He's a
yeah.
heart, though?
Well, think about like
This team doesn't really have a heart, though.
remember the bat flip against the Giants. He's like,
Oh, yeah, of
go
course.
get it out of the
Bumgarner.
water.
Yeah.
yeah. That's like the Mets have none of that whatsoever.
Just bathe her a little bit. Well, it's just nauseating to bring this stuff up day after day. Like, and even a game on Wednesday where you feel like just like all these other series, like the Mets are going to get this last win the getaway day and like make it feel okay. Like Jimenez just murks a 3-run home run, lefty off Quintana, and again shows a crazy emotion. First time he's ever gotten a hit against the Mets, which is really annoying. Reed Garrett's finally like kind of more than the Narvaez pass ball, where it's just like there's a breaking ball on the outside
That you called. You knew the pitch was coming.
Yeah, and he just went for the pick. He went for the backhand pick like this. Just get on your knees, dude. Get out there. Like, try and block this ball.
Work hard,
The go-ahead runs on first base, and you have to do everything you can to keep that ball in front of you. Like, that's lazy baseball. And that's what you hate to see. And then Ottavino has, like, his second bad inning of the entire season, slams the iPad, and then that's just it. Game's over, and you get out of there. You got swept.
Yeah, it's just so tired.
I get my Cleveland friends are definitely texting me right now. I'm on Do Not Disturb during the episode. I don't want to answer those.
Yeah, of course not. No.
God.
Like, I'm even just looking at, like, team stats for the Mets, like, in general, just what they're doing. They're not really, like, they're not striking out. They have a low strikeout rate, but their walk rate is 22nd in Major League Baseball, and the teams that are behind them, it's not great.
What's
it's not
their
great.
ISO?
Their ISO.
And I think you said before, the Mets have the swing, the 7th least of any team in the league, right?
Yeah. The Mets are 23rd in ISO at 134. The teams below them are the Blue Jays, the Cardinals, the Nationals, the Pirates, the Rays, the Marlins, and the White Sox. The other stat was the Mets have the 6th or 7th lowest winning percentage in baseball, which it's tracking with ISO, tracking with hitting the ball with some authority, a little bit of oomph. And you know who's at the top? The Orioles, the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Brewers, who shouldn't be as good as they are, but they're playing well. Guess what they do? They hit the ball hard consistently. Minnesota Twins. Like,
I don't know. The Mets just suck right now. They suck
really
to
do.
watch. They suck on the field. Like, they can't be this bad the whole year again. Maybe they can, but
they really can. I'm not even like about that they can't be this bad for the. What have they done in the last year and a half that has proved to you they can't do it again?
I guess you're probably right, but
At some point, this is what they are.
I can't be this negative before Memorial Day. We have a whole season to watch here. We record the way through the season. It's a long way to go.
I'm so tired of just fucking bad baseball.
And again, I don't know what even that crowd's going to look like on Friday night in Citi Field, Memorial Day weekend, first day back after a miserable road trip. You're going to be in that ballpark, and there's going to be all this like incredible branding and marketing about all these amazing things they're doing. But it's like this team sucks.
Like if they didn't play the Giants and the Dodgers, I genuinely think there might be under 10,000 people.
Nah, it'll be more than that. Still, I mean, this weekend, yes, because New York loves to go away from Memorial Day. Yeah. Very few people stay in the city for this weekend.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
I'll be there. I don't think I'm gonna go to a game this weekend though. I think this is the first. I think it's the first Mets weekend series I'm not going to go to a game in actual years.
Yeah, I don't
basically
blame
since
you.
I moved to New York, since 2021.
They're an unenjoyable team to watch, and I sure as hell don't want to hear about all the fucking fan engagement. If I saw the Queens crew this weekend, I would lose my mind.
They had nothing to do with this.
No, but I'm just saying.
They got hired for a job. It wasn't their idea.
There's nothing wrong with the people in the Queens crew, but if I saw them dancing on the dugouts while we're down 7 to the Giants, I'd lose my mind. I'd have a freak out.
I guess just to end this whole Aro spiel, just talking about how bad this team is and going over the series. Ronnie, when you've been in a lot of good teams before and a lot of good stretches, and you feel like everything's going to go right. If something goes wrong, someone's going to pick you up. But then right now, this is the opposite. Even when you have a lead, you're waiting for a bad thing to happen. You're waiting for the sky to fall. And this is how it feels for the Mets team right now.
Mets are such waiters. They're waiting for things to happen. They don't go and get it. And then Ron Darling couldn't have said it better. All right, enough about this loser team. Let's talk about the prospects, the future. A lot of good stuff going on there, especially on the promotion side. We've got some new players that have been promoted. Blade Tidwell to AAA. Jonah Tong up to Brooklyn since we last spoke to you guys in a prospect report. Who else do we got?
Brandon Sproat to AA.
That's what I thought. Morabito up to Brooklyn. Ryan Clifford to Binghamton. Nolan McLean, Binghamton.
And Willie Fanias to Low A. He made his debut on Wednesday. But I want to start here with my oldest adult son, Brandon Sproat.
The Sproat GOAT.
Future top 100 prospect. He is incredible. This week, he just had his longest outing as a pro, and it happened in his second start with Binghamton. He went 7 innings, 9 strikeouts, just 1 walk, 3 earned runs on 3 solo homers.
Did they win? Did that team pull a Mets?
Binghamton's in first place.
Okay.
Binghamton's in first place.
Hot team.
So, yeah, they're a hot team. Again, we're talking about this maybe. This is how you kind of change the culture little by little. You get these players who come up and are used to winning. Because all these Mets players that come up in this core are not used to winning.
No.
Like P. Alonso, Brandon Nimmo, Jeff McNeil. When these guys were on these minor league teams, they got fucking smoked. And, maybe that's just I don't know, you'll know that. But now this new crop of Mets coming up, these guys are on these teams that are winning. So that's great. But really nice for Sproat as he's gone up through the levels that now these only 2 starts have been him so far, but 33% strikeout rate and only 6% walk rate. Walks have been the one thing that's kind of halted him from like legitimate top 100 prospect status as these people are going to start doing their midseason reports, but he's rising on my personal ranks fast. I want to shout out again, friend of the podcast, Prospect Tilt. He goes through and he will chart all of these games in AA and High A where we do not have StatCast data.
Pitch charting, by the way, in case you guys don't know, he's hand tracking the pitches.
Yeah, he's watching these games and he's hand tracking all these pitches. MILB TV, he's a beast. But Sproat had some crazy sequence this game. It's so nice to see a pitcher like Sproat, who's so advanced for a guy in AA, to be able to mix 3 off-speed pitches in certain at-bats. He had one at-bat against a lefty where the at-bat, the back foot slider, swinging strike, curveball, looking strike, and then changeup that fades away from a lefty, strike 3. 3-pitch strikeout to a lefty, no fastball, which is also 100 miles an hour. But having that mix as a 24-year-old in AA, 2025 starting to feel very realistic for Brandon Sproat on the Christian Scott trajectory.
Yes, the Mets seem to be kind of pushing these guys, being really aggressive with them. Something we spoke about off the record last night while we were hanging out after softball was that the Mets are throwing these guys who are having good performances in the minors up and up and up with the idea that these could be some free pitching for us in the near future.
It's just the fact that I think they're still going to try to build winning teams for the next few years, no matter who they trade or who they get rid of as we get through the season. I think they want to see who can actually contribute next year and what they can kind of ballpark get, because we know how much pitching costs year to year.
It's expensive.
Yeah, like even like Quintana, Severino, and who else? And Minaya. Like those 3 together are about $40 million. Yeah. $40 million can get you 2 really, really good hitters.
Yeah, or get you one really good pitcher.
One ace, yeah. And again, if the Mets can fill in the middle back of the rotation with all these guys are pushing through the system, and then you still have Kodai Senga, who now, again, the way this year's looking, it looks like he's not going to be able to opt out of his contract. He needed 400 innings in his 3 seasons with the Mets, 160 last year, needs 140 the next 2 years, or 240 the next 2 years.
Probably not happening.
It's going to be really hard to do at this point now. So he's the guy you can bank on. Depending if they trade Severino, he's probably going to be offered the qualifying offer, see how that goes. Probably 30-70s a Met next year versus not a Met next year. But the fact that we're getting Sproat, and we're going to talk about Blade in a little bit, and now you guys are seeing Christian Scott, and we even have guys like Tyler Stewart, and we're going to talk about Mike Vassell and Dom Hamill, also in AAA, who are just having these depth guys and a couple guys who might be impact pitchers.
Budo.
Yeah, Budo's too still there. Budo also had a great start his first time back in AA. This is AAA. The same night that Hauser gets bombed. Malpractice that we are starting Adrian Hauser over Jose Budo. Taking money out of a young man's pocket.
I like that.
It is. You're getting like what? Major league minimum? You're getting $4,000 a day?
First you take money out of our pockets, then you take them out of Jose Budo. Unacceptable.
Unacceptable. You can take my money, but you cannot take Jose Budo's money.
You hurt our boy.
But he'll be back up soon. I think they're just waiting to cut Hauser, waiting to see if someone will take him for cash considerations because you don't want to lose an asset for nothing. But
again, get a good washing machine, maybe a couple new bats.
Jackie Moon style.
Some good maple.
That's probably a bad bet. Mets hit the last couple of days of new batting order, but there was a fun study, Sarah's a few years ago about some teams just legit having bad bats.
That was my whole take
for
a while.
The Mets were one of the teams that a lot of anonymous people said, their bats stunk for a while.
Speaking of bats,
the Wilpons.
We got Jeff McNeil knob watch update.
Yeah, we do have a Jeff McNeil knob watch update.
Talk about that real quick.
Yeah, I'm gonna shout out Jordan, our boy Jordan Simpson. You guys know him from Mets Jingle. Him, the Jingle Man, makes music every series for the Mets. But Jeff McNeil has gone back to his old bat in the last few weeks, and he's hitting really well again. Gary talked
what
about.
Do you know?
Gary talked about in the broadcast. Now it's the old school knobless bat.
Who's the idiot who told him to change?
He might have been him.
Well, yeah. Why did he change then?
quote from our guy Jordan. On one end, I'm really annoyed he switched in the first place, but I'm glad he's swinging what he needs to be swinging again.
It's true. It's facts. All right, back to prospect report now. Jonah Tong called it to Brooklyn. Struggled a little bit at the start, but his last start on Tuesday, pitched into the 7th, was really good. 8 strikeouts, a walk, and 1 earned run. Plenty of emotion on the mound too. The high end possibility for this guy is pretty wild, which is what's really exciting about him. It's going to take a little bit longer, but also there's a world where Jonah Tong finishes the year in AA. And that world is all of a sudden where you go, oh shit, we got Jonah Tong?
And Jonah Tong's 20 years old. He's not turning 21 for another month. And he's still just about 6'1", maybe about 6'2" now, and probably 190, probably getting to push 200 pounds. So another year he spends in professional baseball, eating well, lifting. Like he's gone another year in the pitching lab, of course. There's a chance that right now his fastball that's of just beautiful, amazing physics with that great 20 inches of IVB, strides all the way down the mound. There's a world where he gets that up because it sits about 93 and 94, 95-ish now. There's a world where that starts to push 97, 98 when he adds to his frame. And he still is a young guy. He can add to that frame. And he grew up in Canada. I don't know if they're eating in Canada.
No clue.
But he's someone who, if you ask me earnestly, of, every single pitcher in the minor leagues, every single team, you could easily convince me that Jonah Tong has top 10 potential, like top 10 ceiling. You could, if you get me after 3 beers, top 5 ceiling.
He's been phenomenal.
Like, he's that good. And those first couple starts for Brooklyn weren't great. He only finished 5 innings once. He walked 16 innings. Command is still the thing holding Tong back. That was the thing that really stuck with him last year. He was probably walking like almost 20% of the batters he faced. Him lowering that kind of has put him on the scene so far this year. So something to watch as he, gets to a new level and starts to face more advanced hitters.
And then last full-time pitcher we'll talk about here is going to be Blade Tidwell, who got the promotion. Just dominated Double-A, so he very much deserved going up to Triple-A. And the fact that Mike Vassell is struggling and Dom Hamill is struggling at Triple-A, Blade kind of seems like he could be the next man up in terms of like who gets that opportunity the quickest from that Triple-A team. And he's looked pretty good in Triple-A as well.
He hasn't pitched Triple-A yet.
Oh, he hasn't pitched yet? I thought those stats were from Triple-A.
No, that was Double-A. He's going to make his debut, I think it was either tonight, Wednesday, or Thursday. It depends on when you guys are listening to this. And that's going to be huge to see Blade in AAA because we're going to get pitch data on Blade Tidwell in a real sample for the first time, basically as a pro. 'Cause I think he went right to Brooklyn last year to start. And we had him in spring training a few games, and we had the breakout game, which actually I think he might have been the one guy who didn't pitch in that game because he was actually pitching in spring training with the big league club. But he mauled Double-A, 30% strikeout rate, 8% walk rate, 2.4 ERA. And there was a great piece on Fangraphs about a week ago by David Laria, I don't know how you pronounce his name, Paisan, but he does a Sunday notes piece. He's been doing it for years on Fangraphs, and it's wonderful. And he'll just kind of talk to a player, does a lot of minor league stuff, and like kind of get their perspective. And Blade, again, keeps on changing up his pitches, keeps on changing his pitch physics, keeps on changing up his pitch mix, and he's very proud that right now he's been working a lot in his fastball movement, his four-seamer. And he says he's gotten up to a few times on his good days, 19 inches invert vertical break. And that's like the carry that's the ride your fastball has. And Blade also has a very high release point, similar to Tylor Megill. And he kind of says that he's comfortable when that pitch is around 16 inches. And again, with that high of a release point, that helps him to not have as much IVB, but to still get on hitters well. And we've talked about how he's like a heavy fastball in the past. He releases steeply. So we talk about Tong releasing with a flat angle. So when he gets that IVB, it comes up higher. And a guy like Christian Scott, who gets 14 to 16 inches of IVB, his angle's so flat that flatness, it does better. But Blade up here getting that, it's good. He's a big boy. He's menacing on the mound. His sweeper's been coming on since last year. It's been good. He said he worked a lot in his changeup this year, originally with the old pitching coach in Brooklyn, David Ramos, and now he said it's a better pitch. He said it gets a lot more movement. He's using a lot more against lefties, and he has a new cutter that you can tell that Blade's like a real student of pitching data because he said that he was struggling a lot last year, and I guess also in spring training because he didn't have anything in between his fastball and his sweeper. Okay. And he said they weren't tunneling off each other well because they were just so different. That sweeper moved so much. So now he said he has the cutter that kind of links those two pitches together. And the cutter acts like a hard slider. He tunnels that off the sweeper, and it's close enough to the fastball where it can all work together.
That makes sense.
Really fun.
Yeah. I mean,
really into Blade.
I'll keep saying it. Blade was my favorite pitching prospect in that draft, and the Mets got him in the second round.
And he's changed completely the pitcher he is twice since then.
I know.
Yeah.
But I'm going to still hold on to that. I knew he had it in him.
And the guy loves data. They talked about being on Team USA, I think when he was still 21 or 20, like being in front of all that stuff for the first time, being like, wow. Being with Tennessee, he said him and Drew Gilbert especially were really into the data they were getting from that team, who has a great Tennessee's analytics department's beefy as hell. It's amazing. So love to see a pitcher who's just becoming a student of the game like Blade.
Yes, sir. On the hitting side of things, Nick Morabito got the call up to Brooklyn. One of the highest on-base percentages in minor league baseball. You said he's rocking around 500?
500 on the year.
It's pretty good.
Really good.
Not bad. That's something I'd love to see at the major league level.
Yeah, get on base at half the time. Go to the Hall of Fame.
140 WRC plus since call up to Brooklyn, and he's stealing as well. 12 stolen bases in 11 games.
Yeah, he's a freak athlete.
It's a little pest.
Yeah, real pest. And he had, I think, another RBI hit. The Cyclones had a day game on Wednesday, so he's a guy that was not on a lot of people's radars coming into the season, but just a guy that always had physical tools. He was a pretty high draft pick last year, 2 years ago. So
I think he was a second round or third round guy.
Yeah, it's just like nice to see the conversion for a Mets hitter because it's been not the best year for a lot of Mets hitting prospects.
Well, yeah, I guess.
50-50.
I guess, yeah. Most of the guys that aren't doing well that we'll talk about are hitting guys, really. Guy who's doing well on both sides of the ball, though, Nolan McLean.
Monster.
What a beast this guy is.
Legitimate freak.
He came up to Binghamton, I think in his debut, had 2 for 4 with a double and a couple RBIs.
Yeah.
And he's pitching apparently later this week.
He's done. I was going to save this nugget for the top 10 prospects, but I'll just say it on each. Nolan McLean was basically a full-time reliever in college. Yeah. He's made 11 total starts since he was a freshman in high school, and he's already going to pitch in Double-A. You guys realize how nuts that means his stuff is? He also still doesn't even really have a pitch to get lefties out with. Like, the color's coming along. It's looking like a good pitch. But it's just fastballs and ferocious sweepers. And
that is funny.
11 total starts since high school. And he's going to be in Double-A.
As a starting pitcher.
As a starting pitcher. And he had a 50% strikeout rate in Brooklyn, and he was 30% better than league average.
Yeah.
As a hitter. It's the things that he
Who
does.
needs
Like
Shohei Ohtani?
he's the Southern Ohtani. We got Jack Caglianone coming into the league this year as the Italian Ohtani. Nolan McLean, the Southern
The
Ohtani.
Southern Ohtani.
Yeah.
Nolan McLean. Yeah, he's doing some really fun stuff.
What do you mean 7 stars? He got promoted to Double A. They were like, it's just the guy's too good.
He's too good.
That also says a lot about how I think pitching development is going now. With like everyone's gonna have their own like variation of a stuff plus grade. Every organization themselves, like at least probably besides the Rockies and the Angels, and the Cardinals, I guess. But like once you see those pitch grades get to a level where like, oh, it's just too good for these guys,
Yeah.
you push them up. And like Nolan McLean pitching in Double A, I didn't think he was gonna get even close to it this year. I really didn't. I thought they were gonna let him run the whole year out in Brooklyn, like be there and like be comfortable. They did this in May. Like that's aggressive, and we know
He's got a
that.
chance to make AAA.
That's what I'm saying. Like the Mets turned over a lot of the people, like the farm directors and stuff, and this offseason with Stearns. So like, love seeing that aggression.
The Mariners, right, were a team that was super, super aggressive with pitching guys early on, like
Yeah.
with Wu and Gilbert
Totally.
and
Like a
Kirby,
year or two after the draft, right to
Yep.
the majors.
which
Gilbert at first.
love to have a rotation like them.
And that's kind of what I mean. I don't want to get too ahead of our skis. I think the big team being so bad is making me more excited about these minor league pitchers.
Of course.
But everything the Mets are doing with this minor league pitching development is completely sensational. Everyone in the league's catching on. MLB Pipeline had, I think, Christian Scott in their last ranking, his last time going to be there, like top 40 or
Which
something
is
like that.
so funny because that's a classic MLB pipeline move of,
Yeah, being late.
let's be late but take credit for it.
Yeah.
Like, I copied your test. I saw all the answers. I wrote them down. Here they are.
I'm going to give MLB Pipeline some credit now, though, because actually, as we're making our top 10 prospect list, again, YouTube exclusive, going to come out whenever Mark gets around to editing it.
Be this weekend.
Yeah, the grades came out like 10 days after we made them. They
It was a
looked way
week. It was
worse.
1 week. It was 1 week.
Looked way worse
It
than
was
those
1
actually
week.
came out.
We picked the worst week of Mets baseball.
Yeah, exactly, when they lose every game.
Xander Bogaerts is missing significant time with a fracture in his shoulder.
Did you see the play?
No.
He dove, and he just hit the shoulder, and he came up screaming.
Oh, no. That's
Yeah, it
unfortunate.
looked really bad. I feel bad for Xander. He was actually just starting to hit, too, which sucks. But also, a nice nugget from Tim Healy. This is the most game the Mets have been under 500 before June since 2017. Mickey Callaway. I like how we interrupt the prospect report to get mad again.
We're masochists.
Yeah.
What were you going to give MLB Pipeline credit for?
They're updating more often now.
Oh, okay.
So they're doing a few updates a season. The whole thing that we used to give Pipeline shit for is the fact they would do one update and then wait like 6 months and do another one. And prospects just aren't like that, which is why we're giving you guys a new top 10 Mets prospects 2 months later. That's what we do. That's what we're going to do in the Mets podcast. But, yeah, Kyle McDaniel also did a new update. Baseball America, they kind of set this new trend where
Yeah.
people are going to update more often. It's going to be more accurate.
It's good.
And better list. So I was going to Pipeline because, like, now I can look at the Mets top 30 and actually grab something from it.
Yeah,
I think
although their top 30 is a little bizarre, but
the top 30, I think, that's not up there. I think it was just top 100.
Okay,
So I
yeah.
think they still have, like, Jonah Tong 24, Jesus Baez 29.
Nolan McLean's 19.
Yeah,
the
so
guy's
they're
a two-way player.
Still not there yet.
One of the
But
only ones.
They're working harder. I'm going to give them some credit for that.
Ryan Clifford, up to Double-A,
Yeah.
struggling, but as we know, this is what the biggest jump, right, in minor league baseball is to
Yes.
go from A to Double-A.
Yes.
So for him, it's going to be a slow time. He's still getting on base. He's an on-base king. Now he just got put together at the plate.
Yeah, and again, it's like a week, so we're not going to tell you
And
his very bad stats.
20.
21, I think,
21?
recently.
He's a
Yeah,
youngin'.
20 or 21, one of those two. But it's going to be very interesting to see because that's a winning team. That's a good lineup. That's a team that plays really good baseball. They have good rotations. Just a well-put-together team, Double-A, Binghamton, Rumble Ponies. So interested to see how Clifford fits there and how he gets to that left-handed power.
Yeah, man, be nice to get out to Binghamton.
It would be nice.
Would be nice.
Would have
for
been
allowed.
nice, yeah.
All right, Willie Fanias. What do you got on him, James?
Willie Fanias made his PSL debut. He came in international signing class with Simon Juan a few years ago. I think he's already 20 though, so PSL is a good spot for him to be. Hit the home run. It's like a second at bat in St. Lucie.
Good for Willie.
Love that. It was a crazy pitch. It was a breaking ball. Like at his knees. He like put his hips out, but then just murked it.
And then we have a 28-year-old dominating the minors by the name of David Peterson. 29 strikeouts in 19 2/3 innings.
One walk, one earned run.
Don't take anything from the numbers.
A lot of people have asked me this week. I'm doing more fantasy baseball stuff now, working with Roll the World about David Peterson coming off the IL for I think maybe it'll be a 2-start week next week. The first one coming against the Dodgers. I just said very honestly, I can't get excited again.
Yeah, not yet.
Like if he pitches well, and then like some people have also brought to light, my guy Rob on Twitter, that a lot of these times that Peterson has had these bad outings. I think this is true of Tylor Megill too, that they were pitching through some stuff because Tylor Megill went on the IL with that shoulder strain right away.
True.
And it felt like Tylor Megill was probably a guy who like knew how important the spring training was to him.
Knew
and
he wanted to be in the majors.
And probably pitched through something in the spring that
possible.
someone probably the more secure standing probably would not have.
I can
Felt
buy that.
Jose Buda pushing him, and that's why his release points were not right.
Yeah.
Especially if your shoulder's hurting. I don't know as much about pitching mechanics, but like
My shoulder hurts all the time throwing baseball. It's hard.
there you go. It's hard to get that spot over and over again.
I don't throw 90.
And Peterson had a hip issue, and he had the elbow issue. So just like it's been back and forth for him. Would like you just see him pitch well, but I'm not I'm not going to be ecstatic about it until he goes on the mound and does it a few times in the major leagues.
Yes. Now we will be talking about some of the guys that you haven't heard the names of because they have been struggling. Again,
Yeah.
we're going to stay positive with all these prospect guys.
I'm jacked up at the Mets minor league system.
Super jacked up.
Top
but
10.
I'm sure you're wondering what's going on with Kevin Parada, what's going up with Luisangel Acuna, Colin Houck, Mike Vassell, Dom Hamill. Those are the 5 guys we're going to talk about, starting off with Parada. You heard me mention earlier. Struggling, not really adjusting to AA at all. He's rocking a 33% K rate. His ISO is under 1, not really hitting the ball with any oomph whatsoever. It's tough. It's tough when you're also not a good defensive catcher, which is where Kevin Parada lies.
It's also just tough when he was at the level last year. He got last year 15 games at the level, end the year, a playoff run with that team. So you figure an accomplished college
Hurt
hitter.
for the playoff run.
What?
He was hurt for
the
the playoff run.
he was hurt for the playoff run. I always forget that. But a top 15 pick, an accomplished college hitter, a guy who's bad, everyone still believes in the profile anywhere.
Yes.
It's just some consistency has started to come up. It's been a full month so far as year AA. And striking out 1/3 of your plate appearances and being 20% worse than league average, it's not very good when your bat's supposed to be your leading trait.
Yes, that one tough to get by. Another former first-round pick that is struggling, Colin Houck, who you guys know fell to the Mets in the last draft. Big dude, shortstop, third baseman from Georgia, striking out 38% of the time. Now, looking at his exit velos again, because he's in low A, we can see what he's got. He's got the ball up to 106, and he's still 19 years old. There's a ton of time. There's a ton of growth. Exit velos are always going to be lower when you're younger like that, especially at those levels. But the 38% strikeout rate is very concerning.
Yeah.
That means that there's a lack of pitch recognition, probably bad swing decisions, probably just a lot of being a little overmatched right now.
Again, there's also probably now a new function of the Mets wanting to be more aggressive with these prospects.
Yes.
And when you do this, you have to put these guys out there, and you push them out of their comfort zones. It's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
So it's almost like they could have put him in the complex, and he probably could have crushed it.
Yeah, like A.J. Ewing or Boston Barrow or those guys. Yeah.
Or a guy like Jeremy Rodriguez, who's just completely murdering
Crushing
the complex right now. We're going to talk about him in the top 10 prospects. Let's teaser for the YouTube only post. It's going to be YouTube only exclusive, but yeah, how could just, again, he was a high school baseball player, now he's playing against professionals.
Yeah.
He's playing against a lot of guys who came from college. It's
Yes.
hard. It's hard. I'm sure if he was a
And it's
freshman.
been a month.
That's what I'm saying, yeah. So
That's
it's fine.
This is why we haven't talked about these guys.
Yes, we're just talking about the guys who are struggling. A couple other guys that are struggling. The Mets AAA pitchers have been struggling mightily. Mike Vassell's ERA, I believe, starts with an 8.
Yeah,
And
it's
Dom
the
Hassel's-
highest in the organization.
Dom Hamill's with a 6. And those are 2 guys that were really on the right there. They were the top pitching prospect of the system as recently as last July, before the Christian Scott fire-breathing dragon developed and evolved. But that's also kind of a lesson about pitching prospects in general. And then I think Mark and I have tried to get better with this, where it's just these things change quickly.
Yes.
Hitters not as much because it's all about your physicals, your mechanics, your mentals. But these pitching prospects,
they're fake until they're not.
yeah, especially it's not even about saying that guys are worse than we thought they were, but it's about realizing other guys have just gotten better.
Yeah.
Guys like Sproat and Tidwell, the things they're doing now in the upper minors, they now jump ahead of guys like Hamill and Vassell.
Mm-hmm.
And AAA is a weird place to pitch, and we've talked about this when Scott was still there, where the ball is different.
They have the juice balls.
They have the juice ball, and with the juice ball, one thing that all fly balls leave the yard, but it's another thing where it's just harder to grip. And a guy like Vassell is so much more of a touch pitcher. He doesn't have a great fastball. And Hamill has a fine fastball, but his pitches more so are the breaking balls and the off-speed stuff. So a ball that's inconsistently slick or with inconsistent seams is just going to be much harder to place a lot of breaking balls. And also with that, they have automatic balls and strikes. 2 guys who are more touch pitchers. If you're getting different strike zones by a lot day to day, it's a hard thing to manage. It's a hard thing to figure out once you're in game, too. So it's just a lot of things going on there. I think the Mets are still high on these guys, again, mostly as back-end organizational depth guys, which kind of where we always put them.
Yeah.
But just, again, talk about guys we haven't talked about because they are struggling.
And if you want to just know what the hitting environment is like in AAA, just go to Fangraphs, go to the minor league leaderboards, sort by home runs, and I think out of the top 30, I think 25 of them are in AAA. So
That's
it's
crazy.
just it's a hitters league. Both sides, PCL and the International League, are both hitters leagues. The ball flies, and you are going up against either young guys who are on the precipice of being at the major league level,
Yeah.
or you're going up against guys who are trying to get back to the majors who were former major leaguers. AAA by no means is competitive
It's
per se.
It's a weird league.
But it's a weird league in that everybody is fighting for the same thing right now.
Yeah.
There's no working on things at AAA.
And you'll have to go up against Ben Gamble.
Yeah.
Who's who's a Major League Baseball player his whole career. So it's that's tough about Jose Iglesias, Trace Thompson. These are just the Mets guys in AAA, where there's also a lot of guys who wind up being these tweeners.
Heston Kjerstad.
Yeah, it was just incredible.
Kyle Stowers.
Yeah, but I just lost the name. Luke Rither and Rylan Bandon, who are these tweeners, where they're not Major League Baseball players, but they're not developmentally critical enough right now to be in AA. But
Yeah.
these guys who are kind of coming up as the next guys up era. So you get put in AAA where, again, like if you come up against guys who are just these minor leaguers who've never sniffed Major League Baseball, like guys who are barely not good enough to hit in the major leagues are going to hit you, especially when the ball is juiced. I guess that's just kind of the way it is right now. And yeah, they're struggling.
Now, one guy who's not hitting in AAA, but
No.
he's been getting hot recently.
Got some nuggets.
Luisangel Acuna. And I know we've been a little critical of him, and it's more so, again, on how people perceive him just because he has the same last name as one of the best players in baseball. But there are some things that he also does do well that give you some hope, and you comped out what Luisangel Acuna should be thriving for,
Yes.
which is his cousin, Maikel Garcia.
Yes. I've comped Acuna on the show a few times to Whit Merrifield, and that's gotten the chagrin, the ire of a lot of Mets'd up listeners because they were like, fuck, we just traded for Whit Merrifield. But my whole thing was like a super, super souped up Whit Merrifield. Like if Whit Merrifield had significantly more natural ability.
Yeah, if Whit Merrifield was
torqued up,
named Luisangel Acuna.
Yeah, exactly. That's the big difference there. Because Acuna still has a lot of raw natural power, and he can still just get that bat around. I'm excited to see if we can get him in the major leagues where he'll come up in all these new bat speed metrics. But now seeing a guy like Maikel Garcia come to the league, and I got this comp because, again, this is the last nugget I'm going to give from the Mets top 10 prospect report, going to be on YouTube. He got that ball 108.5 miles an hour. It was a 21-year-old AAA, I think a week or two ago. That's the same max exit velocity in the major league that we've seen guys this year: Jackson Chourio, Maikel Garcia, and Taylor Ward. And I picked those three guys specifically, Garcia, Chourio, and Ward, because those are three guys on different ends of the plate discipline spectrum.
Yes.
And Maikel Garcia has had an awakening this year where he's always been a guy who made tons of contact. He made fine contact consistently, but never like high-end good contact. And now this year, I believe he's finally figured out how to walk.
Yes.
And that's as a 24-year-old, really in his first true exposure to Major League Baseball. And the guy who, he's a much slicker, I think, defender than Acuna.
Yeah, he's got a great glove.
He would be a shortstop if he was on a team, not with Bobby Witt Jr., who's one of the 5 best players in Major League Baseball now, but Garcia's playing great glove at third base. He could definitely hang at second base, and he's making a lot of just solid contact. Not over-the-top good contact, but he's learned how to pull the ball. He puts the ball in play a ton, and it's just squared up, like 102, 103, 102, 103. And Acuna is good at that. Acuna is good at making consistent contact, getting his bat in the ball a lot. He's not striking out very much. He's not walking a lot, and he keeps hitting the ball hard. He keeps getting the ball over 100 miles an hour without getting it over 110. So it's just this hyper contact method with plus defense, plus base running, and enough power to get to it when, again, he grows into learning how to pull and lift it because he's still 21 AAA. I'm copying Garcia. He's 24. 3 years from now, like this could be the best version of what Acuna becomes.
Which would be great.
And that's not a bad thing
That'd be
if you're a major league really good rookie at 24 years old. But the fact he's already on the 40 man, he's in AAA, the Mets need middle infield depth. It's a whole lot of things working against Acuna, I think, against the way people see him. But he's still doing a lot of things I think are very positive. And while he's not his brother, he still tracks to be
a good
solid Major League Baseball player.
So we haven't talked about him because, again, the numbers haven't been there.
Yeah.
But that's not from a lack of caring about him.
No, of course. We still do care about him a lot. But I think that is a good spot to end the prospect report this week.
Definitely.
Right now.
Because we're going to have more prospect content for you on the YouTube channel later this weekend. So make sure you subscribe to that channel so you can see that. We're going to go ahead and preview the Giants series real quick for you. I know we played them, like 3 weeks ago?
Oh, a little longer ago than that.
Feels like a year ago that we played this team because we were actually playing good baseball at the time. Pitching matchups. James, what do we got?
We got Friday night. The Giants are being weird with their rotation right now, so they haven't officially said anything. But the way it lines up.
Oh, yeah, because they go to Pittsburgh. They have one more game in Pittsburgh on Monday facing Paul Skeens.
On Thursday.
Oh, yeah. Oh, today's Wednesday.
Yeah, today is Wednesday,
Oh,
guy.
man.
Mark's not days of the week guy.
No.
But, and then Blake Snell was also activated. So there might be a Thursday matinee, Blake Snell versus Paul Skeens.
I think Blake Snell's pitching tonight.
They said that he wasn't announced for tonight, though.
Oh, okay. On Baseball Reference, they have him versus Jared Jones.
Because he was activated today, but they didn't say if he was pitching today.
Interesting.
So maybe he is. I don't know. Check. But again, as for our guys who are pitching this series, now with the new 6-man rotation, we're going to do 3-3-3-3. It is Christian Scott on Friday, Luis Severino on Saturday.
Blake Snell is pitching.
Tonight.
Yep.
Okay, so that changes that. And Sean Manaea on Sunday. And as it winds up, we're going to face 3 pretty good pitchers for the Giants. It might change, but Kyle Harrison in a young ace-off Friday night against Christian Scott, Jordan Hicks Saturday against Luis Severino in a day game matinee 140. And, of course, we got to probably run into Logan Webb again on Sunday, which is a great thing in Citi Field this team can't hit.
Yeah, oh, man, that guy's going to throw a perfect game. It's a good thing he's on my fantasy team. Going to be excited about the points on that one. In terms of this lineup, it is a little bit different. Jung-Woo Lee's out for the year, just destroyed his shoulder crashing into the wall.
It's a shame, too.
Michael Conforto's hurt. Nick Ahmed is hurt.
Yeah.
So they're playing Marco Luciano, who's been swinging the bat okay so far.
Kind of well.
He's been swinging it pretty decently well. Luis Matos is now in the outfield, who has 17 RBIs in 9 games. He's playing really, really well. That's a fun stat to throw out there. He was a guy who got some more muscles this offseason, hitting the ball a little harder.
He's a guy where, like, this was a Giants podcast when we were doing prospect reports. He was a guy who, like, I don't understand why he's totally fallen out in, like,
Correct.
Baseball prospect landscape.
It's the prospect fatigue.
Yeah, it is, because he's a 21-year-old who came to the Major League last year, held his own, like, wasn't fantastic, but, like, took okay at bats, didn't have a lot of power, went back down to AAA, again, as a 21-year-old, and crushed the ball. And now came back this year as a 21-year-old in the major leagues. Looks like he put on about 10 pounds of muscle, pulling the ball a little bit more. It looks really good. And it's a similar thing with Marco Luciano.
And even Elliot Ramos,
Yeah.
who's swinging the bat well, too. He came up really high, I think, on the bat speed charts.
Yeah, he did.
As
Really
someone
high.
who takes hacks.
Really, really high.
So these are, like, guys that, again, prospect growth is not linear.
No.
It shouldn't be linear. We've gotten spoiled seeing Juan Soto and Ronald Acuñas of the world, where you come up and you're the best player in baseball. But some of these guys take time.
So even a guy like Luciano, who was like, Fangraphs gave him like the fabled like 70 hit grade when he was like 18 in low A, which he probably didn't deserve, but also probably like made him get a little too hot. Fantasy baseball now, everyone kind of thinks he's a bust. He just has come up this week and just keeps hitting the ball hard. Like, he's not chasing. A guy who comes up in like a couple games like that, it's like 4 or 5 games. But Marco Luciano's chasing 11% of pitches outside the strike
It's really
zone.
good.
It's one that would be one of the best rates in baseball if he was qualified. And he hasn't really lifted the ball yet, but just if he's playing okay defensive shortstop, which I think he's playing acceptable defensive shortstop, you get around on the ball, you get a couple gaps, I think the power will come, because
He's also 9th in the lineup.
he's still just 22 years old. Like, it's just, I think a lot of people get tired of these prospects a little too early, where there's some fun to still be had.
Definitely. And Giants have been playing, I think, better baseball of late. I think they've gotten a little bit hot, if I remember correctly.
They're 23 and 26.
Yeah, so they won 4 in a row before losing to the Pirates last night in extras, because O'Neal Cruz decided to hit 3 balls over 115 miles an hour, which is disgusting.
terrifying.
Guy's not from planet Earth.
No.
But they're playing hot.
Yeah.
Matt Chapman swinging the bat. I think the best he has as a Giant since signing with that team. So
too.
perfect time for a bad Mets team to face him.
And Soler off the IL.
Yeah.
So great.
That's it.
That's it,
guys. Thank you so much for listening and watching this episode of the Mets'd podcast.
We got reviews.
I'm going to just do the thing while James is looking for them. Follow us on all our social media at Mets'd on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. If you want to see the YouTube version of this, the Mets'd podcast YouTube channel will have that for you. And if you're listening to us, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, whatever it is, drop us a rating, drop us a review, download, and subscribe. We really do appreciate you guys listening through the dog days of May. This team is unenjoyable.
Not fun.
And we would love to have a little more fun on here, but it's tough when the team plays like not a baseball team. So we'll see.
Yeah, we have. So there's one review that was left on our YouTube channel by Sam Johnson, and he left it 2 straight videos. We missed it last time. We were just dejected, but he said, left on the last episode, but I don't blame y'all for not checking. It was a rough series in Miami. 10 out of 10. I love your podcast. Can't wait for it to come out every week. Loyal listener on YouTube. I'm a diehard Mets fan living in Philadelphia. So it's refreshing to hear other Mets fans talk for an hour after every series when everyone around me just keeps cheering for the Phillies. Keep up the good work. Let's go, Mets.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
All right. Do we have the Apple Podcast ones?
It's on my phone.
Okay. I'll look it up real quick. Mets'd Up Apple Podcast. Good podcasting. It's towards the end. You guys love us.
You guys are here.
You guys are here. We're hanging out.
Oh.
What are you doing for Memorial Day weekend, James?
Nothing. I'm hanging.
Just hanging?
Yeah, I mean, new job. I got shifts on Friday and Sunday, but I think Saturday and Monday I'm going to go to shows in the city. It's going to be fun.
I feel like we have a
Solo
bunch of new
Sunday.
ones. We read Brandon Lux.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think 519 to 520. Those feel
Jeez.
right.
That'd be
We've
a
got
lot.
4 of them.
519 was Sunday, so we might have got a couple dozen Sunday episodes.
Sam Johnson, does that one sound familiar?
That was this one. I think he left it on there because we didn't
okay.
read it. Shout out to you, Sam.
Then we've got 3 new ones. We've got Matt Bood. Oh, this is really long, Matt. All right. 5 stars. Thank you so much. Long-time listener with a big question. Big question for the boys. I'm concerned. First, I want to say I love the show. Definitely the most informative and unbiased baseball podcast around, let alone for the Mets. These guys never fail to provide intelligent insight and calm me down after a bad series. Probably not this episode. With that being said, I'm writing this after the Marlins series, and I think I have to be done with this team for the season. I know Saturday was pretty much entirely on Diaz, and that this team still is only 2 games out of the wild card. But what optimism can still be had about this team, not only for this season, but next too? We knew this year was going to be a buffer, and it's frustrating to see a good team struggle like this. But it's fine. Like Cohen said, this isn't going to be the year. But I honestly don't see next year being any better, and I think it'll be worse. So finally, here's my question. If the Mets keep playing like this, end up without Alonso after the deadline, don't get Soto coming off the offseason, because let's be real, the Yankees are going to give him a blank check. JD is gone after 1 year. What else is there to build on or hope that this team can be a playoff team in 2025?
Is this Matt Boone?
Yeah.
He hit me the same thing in my DMs. I haven't gotten to it yet. That's
it's a lot. There's even more after it, but I think it's repetitive.
I hate to bring this up. An hour into this recording, but there's some truth to all that.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of what we talked about in the prospect report is probably the way the Mets are trying to insulate themselves, where they're like, okay, maybe we have next year 3 free pitchers in this rotation that we think are better than bad.
Yeah.
Like between Scott, Sproat, and maybe even Tidwell.
And again, that's where money that could be spent that could now go to other hitters.
So the 3 guys that are free. And you could always...
Or trades, even.
Yeah, you can always find a couple bats in the offseason to fill in, especially things that the Mets kind of need, which every team usually has, but the Mets don't, which it could be first baseman, third baseman, corner outfield.
Yeah.
Those are usually the easiest positions to fill. So, again, maybe not corner outfield because Marte, we fucking have Starling Marte for one more year, but it's just like you will be able to find hitting a little more easily than pitching. So if you have pitching, even if Lindor and Nimmo are just good baseball players, you have a good spot to start that lineup with. And we've seen the way the Mets have kind of been able to manipulate relievers this year to get good relief pitching out of nowhere. So you're confident that could be there. So there is, again, hope to just be what we thought this team was going to be this year, which was a scrappy, fun 500 team.
They are.
For some reason,
they were.
They're just lifeless.
Yeah, no, they're just kind of lifeless. All right, another one here from Kyle Frank. He said, redoing my review from 2 years ago. Been listening ever since the beginning. Shout out Jeter had no range. Love the prospect reports as it really goes to show what the Cohen era has really been about when mainstream media only looks at free agent signings that didn't quite work out. Keep the good work, and let's hope the Mets turn it around for everyone's sanity. Kyle, you are correct. Thank you for that. And last one, 5 stars from AWGH54. Best Mets pod in the game. Why are there so many Mets pods? There's a lot to talk about with this joke of a team. Let's hope that this was rock bottom. Respect to you guys and the rest of the ones who watched till the very end. I think everyone had the possibility that this year's team could stink it up. Would have loved for them to be fun and exciting, but we can't be too surprised either. There's still time, but it would have to be dramatic turnaround in vibes. Let's start trading off pieces while they still have value. Who knows how this trade deadline is going to be after a weird offseason. Hopefully you guys get unbanned from AA games. If you find your way to a Rumble Ponies game, I'll come say what's up, LFGM. Appreciate you. We're not banned from games.
No, we're
banned from talking to them.
Not allowed to interview players.
Yeah, we're not allowed to interview players.
We'd love to do.
We'd love to, so if anybody can help us.
You can keep trying with Brooklyn.
We would love to. But, guys, that's it for the episode. Make sure you follow James on Twitter at
James_Shiano.
Me at DraftNick, Mark with a C. Thank you guys for listening and watching. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace out.
Peace out. See you guys next time.